love the way it drives, will never get bored of it. But I have had a couple of problems. Hello and welcome back to the Volks Wizard channel, and welcome to a long-term update on living with my MK7 Golf GTI Clubsport S. I've actually had this car for 2 years now, and I've done about 6,000 miles in it, which is actually more than the first Clubsport S, which I owned from brand new for just under 2 years, which was a sister car to this car. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what's gone wrong with the car, what I've done with it, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you how long I plan to keep it for. But this isn't just your normal long-term update video. It's actually the first road trip of 2025. Yay! And this time, again, we're going to try and do it on a budget, on the basis that the cheaper it is, the more often you can do it. And I'm beginning to wonder why we've never been to this place before, because it seems to have nearly all the splendour of the Alps, but doesn't involve ferries, tolls, and overnight stops. Intrigued? Well, let's get going and I'll tell you all about it. Now, I don't know about you, but when I think about lakes and mountains, I think about Austria, but there is a country that's a lot closer that has loads of lakes and mountains, and the scenery is pretty much as stunning, and it's called Wales, and it also has some amazing roads which you can enjoy in a car like the Clubsport S, well within the speed limit. In fact, there's one particular road that I drove 10 years ago, pretty much exactly, that was too much for a Porsche 911, and I swore one day I'd drive it in a good hot hatch, and that's what we're going to do today. So let's hit the mountains in the Golf GTI Clubsport S. Well, welcome to Wales. So we're in the little village of Llangynog. There's some good roads on the way here, but every time I've driven them, there's slow traffic. So the best thing to do, pull into this car park, go to the public toilets, which are brilliant and open on a Sunday, and let the traffic go and leave a big gap for you, because from here onwards, the roads are spectacular. We start off with an alpine type pass, and then we have one of the most exhilarating B roads I've ever driven on. So this is the road, and I drove it in March 2015 in a 996 911 Carrera 4S, and it was a bit of a shakedown drive before we went to the south of France in that car. I just remember thinking, I wish I was in a car with an engine at the back of it. Something like, I don't know, a Golf, and here we are today. So we're in ring mode. The surface is pretty good, but it's not perfect, so we just want to take the shock out of the suspension, not buckle those Pretoria wheels. The driving's incredible out here. It's a 60-mile-an-hour road as well. Forget roads that go around in triangle shapes around here. They weren't that good anyway. The better roads are the ones nobody ever tells you about. I've tried to track down good roads in Wales, and it's just a question of coming out here and wrecking them, and that's what this one goes back to, back in 2015. But the scenery is spectacular as well. I've got my wife Kate here holding the flip me handle, which she said they don't have in TTs, is that right?
I don't know.
No, probably because you smash your head on them, because they're not as hard, they're a bit hard compared to the headlining. But we're doing 60 miles an hour and having a real hoot, enjoying the Clubsport S's superb damping over these undulating Welsh roads. Look at that scenery in front of us. It's like a fairy tale. But then you look at the road and you think, this corner looks like a dream. So 60 miles an hour, a bit of a funny crest and a bend, but it just flies right through it. There's so little mass in this car. I mean, it's not, you know, crazy like an up GTI, but it's a couple of 100 kilograms lighter than your common or garden Golf GTI, and out here that makes a big difference. We've also got 310 horsepower, and I can't even remember how much torque, but you don't need to rev it, you just revel in that mid-range. So it's fourth now, and we're changing counters from Powys to Gwynedd. Nice pops and bangs. When this car came out, I did a back-to-back with the normal Clubsport, which is kind of mute, and this is just so flatulent in this mode anyway. Listen to that. That is not a 150 quid remap, guys. That's a Volkswagen engineer programming pops and bangs back in 2016. Yeah, better watch out for the sheep, because we have been over a cattle grid, and I quite like the front of this car as it is. I've always felt Wales is best enjoyed outside of the period between Easter and the summer school holidays. And days like today, which are, okay, they're not warm, but they're dry, and the roads are clean, apart from a load of mud drugs on there. Look at this. I mean, just look at this. And the brakes. Well, I've talked about Clubsport S brakes a lot, 340mm, but they're two-piece, and the feel on them is superb. Oh, just look at this. The car was made for this, I guess because it's not unlike the Nordschleifer. So double bend sign. If Clubsport S had traffic sign recognitions and it saw that sign, it would automatically put it into ring mode, hairpin just like the Alps there, VAQ hauling you out. But yeah, it's been an amazing 2 years with this car, because unlike my first one, I've actually driven it in places where I can actually enjoy it. Not least the Nürburgring. Actually, that wasn't as good as this road, to be honest. So that's why we're doing a budget trip in it now, because I want to do this again and again. This is what driving is all about. And no speed limits are broken. Well, welcome to Lake Bala, and as well as the beautiful scenery here, we have amazing roads in both directions. Like hopefully you've just seen, that's one of the best drives I've had in a very long time. But it's not over yet. We're going to take a road from just up the road here to Llangynog. I think it's, I can't remember the number, maybe B4391. A, it's journalist Dan Prosser's favourite road, or it was a few years ago, and B, it's been used by BMW for testing of their new cars. So, but as well as the scenery and the roads, quite often you get the planes flying the Mach loop, so you get fighter planes and other military planes flying really low through the valleys of Wales, and that's pretty amazing as well. So yeah, let's get on the road now and go and see the sea at Porthmadog. Okay, we're on the A4212 heading west out of Bala, and we've come alongside another lake, sorry I can't remember the name, it's like Selin, and it's absolutely stunning. Just here on the left, I think it's man-made. And you can go whitewater rafting on one of the rivers that feeds it. You can pull into this lay-by and just enjoy the view. I mean, this is not that dissimilar to what you get in Austria, 1,000 miles away. Okay, so this is the turn off the 4212 onto the 4391, direction Llangynog. And I swear, in this dim and distant Shmee video, he was out here with engineers developing some car, probably a 5 Series, and they made that turn onto this road. It's much better than, say, the Evo Triangle or the roads around Krakow or the Black Mountain Pass, because it's got a 60 mph speed limit, and to be honest, even in this car, that's more than enough. So I'll put the speed on the display. So that's 47. You can see the tarmac going off in the distance. That's always a good sign. Clubsport S seems to agree. So I would say on these roads you need a car that turns in well, isn't too big, it's got decent brakes, there's the torque, there's gradients, and good damping, because the road does buck and weave, but that's what we want. The only problem right now is the sun, because we're heading west, is right in my eyes. There's nobody on this road. So drop down to this, slightly left before going right, it's always good fun. Out in second gear to 55. Do the crest now. At 60, which is ample into 6, use the torque. Been to the Alps a lot, you've driven for days to get there, and here we are 3 hours up from home.
We haven't driven for days, and it's as picturesque as many of the places we've seen near the Alps.
Yeah, I mean the Alps are the Alps, but Germany doesn't have the Alps really, does it?
No.
And it's probably better than the Black Forest, and yeah, so you have to go, you know, probably somewhere you can get to in a whole day's driving to beat this, and there's nothing in Northern Europe that's this spectacular really.
No, it's very, very dramatic.
So the road's picking up the pace now. Blind crest. Oh, Clubsport S love that though. Good damping, not so much weight to have to deal with. It just flows into these corners at 60 miles an hour. Not even trying. Kate's not even scared, are you?
No.
This isn't a scary car as a passenger, is it? It's just so smooth. Although actually that scared me as a driver. That's still 50 miles an hour though, and then just turn in, feel the grip, BAQ, out. And again, say probably third for this one. This is what you want to be engaged with the drive, shifting manually, reading the road, trying not to be distracted by the amazing scenery. That's actually getting more amazing as we go down this road. Cloud on the hills.
Starting to get more barren, isn't it?
Yeah. Look at this road, it's just weaving through this moorland. Second gear for this one. Up to 60. Damn Prosser. You were right, this is a spectacular road. And all within the speed limit. Right, let's get to Porthmount now. Then we'll show you our budget hotel, which is about half the price of the hotels we typically stay in, but I bet you it's not half the hotel. And there we have the sea, which if you live in the Midlands like we do, it's always a big deal to catch it and look at the sun on the water. It's just so beautiful. You don't get that in the Alps. Actually, before we go to our hotel, I thought we'd go down to Black Rock Sands because it's a beautiful sunny evening, there might be a great sunset, and it's one of the few beaches in the UK where you can actually drive on the beach, which sounds like fun, and it's free in March. We're not going to be on there long because it's going to get dark and cold very soon. But I just thought it would be a fun way to end what has been a surprisingly enjoyable day.
You've arrived. Destination is on your right.
Welcome to the glamour of the Premier Inn in Porth Madog. Now, they're not the most glamorous hotels, but they are, in theory, good hotels. We were put in one by Volkswagen in Milton Keynes before FanFest, and it was quite good, wasn't it?
It was really good. Really good. I
Yeah.
really thought it was great. Had a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Well, I didn't, but that's only because of the anxiety of having to drive to Germany in 3 different cars the next day. But I would do it all over again, no problem. Car park's good. Premier Inns can be a bit tricky. That Milton Keynes was awful when it came to parking. It says limited parking on the website, but there are loads of spaces. Obviously, it's not unlimited because there's not unlimited spaces. Across the road is the heritage Llangynog Railway, and I'm sure there's a good view just over this wall. If we have a room with a view, I'd be over the moon. So let's go inside and see what £58 buys you. Welcome to room 303 at the Premier Inn in Porth Madog. 58 quid a night, but it's about a week ago on the basis that if we cancel we lose all the money, so it's a bit cheaper than if you want to amend the dates. So it has a bathroom with a shower and it has a little wardrobe here. Sometimes you get like all the drink stuff there, which I don't particularly like. They're all down here, but we'll look at the bed first. So apparently you can buy their mattresses if you like them that much. A double bed, it's quite high, but other than that it looks all right. I think there are USB sockets in the wall sockets there, so that is good. It looks, Premier Inns are not exciting, but they're just what you need and no more really. Coffee machine and a kettle and some Green and Black's organic chocolate. That's pretty good going actually, better than most hotels. And then you've got a fridge down here with some free water, which I could do with right now. I don't mind if I'm on the back or the front really, because I'd like to see the mountains, but the estuary is pretty nice. The Heritage Railway, if you're a railway nerd like I was as a kid, is pretty cool. And yeah, sunset as well this evening, which we've already seen down at Blackrock Sands. Also, you can see the car park and keep an eye on your car. There's a really nice Merc down there, actually 25 reg AMG. It's only like a day old. So yeah, don't blame you for coming out here. It's pretty damn fantastic. So yeah, we'll catch up tomorrow then, and I'll tell you about my 2 years with the car, the good and the bad bits, and then how long I'm going to keep it for. Right, let's go get some food, get a good night's sleep, and wake up, hopefully, refreshed. Well, welcome to day 2 of the Volks with a road trip. Kate looks a bit shocked because I haven't told her I'm going to film this, but I've got to talk really quickly because there's music playing in here, and if I don't talk really quickly then we'll get copyright issued with YouTube. So we're having breakfast now. We've done a meal deal, so we had dinner here last night, which was really good. You get breakfast and dinner for under 30 quid with a drink at dinner and 2 courses. Car's parked over here now, and the day's not as sunny as yesterday, but there is blue sky over there. So we're going to go for a walk, but later in the day I will be able to tell you exactly what's happened with this car over the 2 years. You might find that interesting because, I guess YouTube people don't tend to have cars for that long. Okay, so 2 years with the Clubsport S. As you've seen from this video already, it's still spectacular to drive, even though it's 9 years old. The roads haven't changed, and it was spectacular back in 2016. It still is now. When you drive it sedately, it can feel a little bit boring, and that's why you need to come to somewhere like this every so often, just to remind yourself how the Clubsport S excels over the normal Clubsport and the normal Golf GTI. The roads we drove yesterday that you'd have seen us drive on are exactly the kind of terrain where this car is spectacular. I didn't think it was a very good track car until I drove it in October, or was it November, at Bedford Autodrome. Off-season track day, probably the best ones, nice and cool, a little bit damp, but it's on the Goodyear Eagle F1 Supersport tyres now, and it's got EBC blue pads as well. Other than that, it's completely standard. No R600 under the bonnet, no R360 wheels, and yeah, it felt incredible. And it's totally standard performance, 310 horsepower. It kept an F3 saloon honest on that track, and that was highly tuned with semi-slick tyres. So I think that tells you all you need to know about the Clubsport S, and that's mainly because it's light. As Colin Chapman preached, add lightness, and that makes everything better. So yeah, love the way it drives. We'll never get bored of it. But I have had a couple of problems with the car. As you probably know, the rattle that has plagued it pretty much since I bought it has not necessarily been resolved. I was hoping it would be the brake pads, but I think it's still doing it, so I don't even want to talk about that. It's pissed me off so much. The car came with a warranty when I bought it for a year, and they maybe could have looked at it, but it's such an intermittent thing, and I didn't want people taking it apart and putting it back together, so I left it. There's also another intermittent thing that's probably more of a worry, and that's the fact that intermittently it chucks blue smoke out when you start it up after it's been left for, say, overnight. Now, it's only a small puff of smoke and it's only intermittent, but I'm pretty sure it's valve stem oil seals. If you Google it, it's a rare phenomenon on Golf 7 7.5, but I think the fact this car has done not many miles and it's maybe done a lot of short journeys, like a lot of Clubsport S's, the oil's been contaminated with petrol and the petrol has affected the rubber of the valve stem seals. To validate this theory, I bought a cheap endoscope from Amazon, left the car overnight and shoved it down the spark plug holes, and you can quite clearly see a tiny bit of oil on top of the pistons. It doesn't use oil, it didn't use any oil going to the Nürburgring, it doesn't blow smoke out the back when you go around track at full pace, so it's not a massive problem, but in the longer term it will need sorting. Other than that, it's been fantastic. You know, last year there was a video how I protected the underside of it with Dynax UC by Built Hamber, the cavity wax. This year I actually applied it to the rear wheel arches. It's not the most beautiful thing, but the car's covered in crap for most of the winter. I might take it off in the summer, but the wheel arches on these are going to be a bit scabby in due course, and hopefully this will stop them getting too bad too soon, because I want to keep it forever and I bloody hate rust, so taking preventive measures like that is really important. So yeah, no plans to sell. Will there be a new Clubsport S in 2026 for the 50 years of GTI? Well, there probably will be. Benny Reuter said there are some interesting projects in the offing, or words to that effect, when I saw him at FanFest. So that's quite exciting, but will it be better than this? Well, I don't know. It's going to be Euro 7 emissions, which isn't too brilliant. It's going to got to have lane assist and speed limit warning as standard on it because it's a modern car. So that again takes the edge off it. But what's interesting about the Clubsport S, it's the only Volkswagen that comes with start-stop that isn't enabled by default when you start the car. You have to turn the start-stop system on if you want to use it, which is so cool because somebody's obviously decided to do that. Let's hope they do that with lane assist and speed limit warning, and then I might actually consider buying one. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this Volkswagen video, this time from Criccieth, just down the road from Porth Madog. Keep subscribing, keep commenting, and see you for the next one very soon.